Hey, welcome back to our program. You know, Mike, we have had a number of great guests on our program, and each one has brought a piece of the pie
Right.
in better understanding.
And it's a good pie.
Yes, yes, it is. I feel very fortunate to the guests that we have had, and the guests are coming up. And today we have a special guest. Shirley Battie is from England. She's a spiritual healer, a light trance channeler, clairvoyant, psychic phenomenon extraordinaire. Just a great individual.
Author and teacher.
Yeah, yeah. And she's been doing this since 1990. And she has a number of different books out, and I'd like to explore some of those books. And she has a couple more books coming out. But one of the things that sort of caught our eye was on her website page. We'll throw out the website page. She had a message from Spirit, and I'll just read you just a clip.
Okay.
May you always hold kindness in your soul, compassion in your heart, gentleness in your action, truth in your words. I think that's speaks very highly of Shirley and what she's trying to get across. So it's our great pleasure to introduce Shirley Battie. Shirley has been around the world teaching and different things, and I'm looking forward to understanding more about where Shirley's coming from. So welcome, Shirley.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Mike. Yes, those words you read out came from an extraterrestrial. Came after a channeling session, and he ended it with those words. And I thought, how can you not like beings from another planet that can speak with such love?
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Very good advice.
Shirley, for the listening audience, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm now getting on in years, but I think everybody I know knows that.
If you're lucky, you are.
I'm told I'm going to go on past 100, so we'll see.
Well, good.
Yeah, so you're not going to get rid of me that quickly. It's interesting because I didn't start until I was divorced by my second husband, which threw me. It took me a while to get over that. But Spirit came in. I went to a channeling class. A counseling class. And they meditated, and I'd never meditated before. I thought people were a bit weird, beads and bangles and amen. But they were nice people, so I tried meditating. And I had instant contact, instant. And it was all about the planet. It wasn't about me. It was about what was going to happen on the planet. It showed me pictures. It got my attention. Believe you me, it got my attention fast. So that's how it all started. And they told me that they'd got me because I no longer had family commitments. Hence the divorce, I think.
Yeah, I
understand.
I've got kids, but they're old enough to look after themselves,
Understand. And so this was back in the 1990s when you started the channeling and better understanding about the world. And in those meditation,
is that a led meditation, or is that just being quiet, or are you chanting, or what kind of?
When I meditate, well, it took a little while, excuse me, because I was getting so much information, using the technique that I now teach, which is a form of self-hypnosis. I believe Edgar Cayce did the same thing. And I'm very much a fan of Edgar Cayce, which you will know about, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that method, and I was no longer in my body. I was having a conversation, seeing things as if I was there, and that's still like that today. So I can teach this, and people are having amazing experiences. Even people who've never done it before find they can, but they need to use that technique, you see. And this led to channeling because I was getting so much information. And then when I came out, and you'll have experienced this, I'm sure, both of you, that when you come out, you can't remember what went on. You certainly can't remember their words. You remember bits of it. Is that true?
I think so.
Yes. So I complained because I knew I was getting a lot of information and I couldn't remember it. So they taught me Spirit taught me how to channel. They said, record it. So with a little bit of trial and effort, I recorded it as it happens. And I was able to speak both their words and mine at the same time, if you follow me. And always record it. And when I did do this, even now, if I have a tape recorder going, I can forget about trying to remember. I can just let it rip and I get much, much more information. If I just simply meditate, because that was your question, Mike, if I simply meditate the way a lot of people do, for varying reasons, it's lovely, but it doesn't give me the information I'm seeking. I'm always out for information and assistance and help. So that's why I channel, basically. And my book, Beyond the Stairs, is full, the whole thing, are my recorded meditations, which you would say are channels. They're stories. They're like Aesop fables, they're little parables in there. Messages for everybody, not just for me. So even in my own meditations, the messages are for everybody, not just for me. And they said, you've got to get this out there. You've got to print this up.
Well, as a matter of fact, you've had 4 books, and each book sort of goes into a specific realm with the main theory. The main emphasis is channeling. Like for instance, being human.
Yes.
I think that's a fascinating book in the fact that you are with other extraterrestrial individuals looking at their spacecraft and what some of the information is. I think that's great.
Yeah, I still do. I still go, And this is really part of the book that I'm writing now, that I have written now, waiting for a publisher. I'm looking for a publisher, Patrick.
Oh, okay.
I haven't got one yet.
Now, is that the Chosen Planet?
Chosen Planet. And it's going to be a trilogy. I've written the first 2, but I haven't written the third. I'm waiting for the publisher to pick it up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But anyway, apart from that, it's all about the future of the planet and the human race. Did you know that there are human beings in space?
Very much so.
They are, yes.
And they're
originated here, or just the same type of people?
Well, both. A bit of both. Some have originated here and some have always been away.
Okay.
You see, we are products of extraterrestrial races.
I agree with that.
Yeah, we're hybrids.
It's interesting. There are a number of different authors that said that there are anywhere from 23 to 84 different species that have lived or that reside amongst us.
Absolutely.
And I always throw out that if there's an off-worlder, I call them off-worlders, that would like to make contact in my third dimensional eyes, sure.
Come on.
Yeah. Bring them on.
Yeah.
They've got so much to offer. I go into all these things in the books. I bring up the facts that you can research on the internet, so it's not like secret knowledge. But if people are interested enough to look it all up, they can find all the information they want. And I've personally met some of the people in the book who have Jaime Maussan. Have you heard of Jaime Maussan? No, he's Mexican. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail on the people. But so it's not airy-fairy stuff made up. Even though it's a fiction book, it's not made up.
You bring up a very good point. We were talking earlier. Oftentimes when we do meditate and we do channel, oftentimes we sort of not put that in perspective. We sort of ignore everything else, and next thing you know, we're sort of bouncing off walls.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I think you said it very well, that we have to stay grounded.
We do have to stay grounded, yeah. Which I think is why I'm not a natural psychic. Like, you know, I'm not constantly picking up on people, because I'm a good mix of being grounded and being able to connect. Do you see? It's so important. I mean, this hip is grounding me. Start. Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we still have our lives to live. We still have to meet our responsibilities.
Right. We can't live, you know, in imagination or.
Patrick, I believe whatever goes on in the world, whatever is happening anywhere, space or here, the only real important thing is your soul's journey. You and your own particular soul. Because that will carry on into infinity. And if you look after that and do all the right things, never do anything that you would dislike yourself for, and so on. And if everybody did that, the world would be magically wonderful.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. And I would imagine some individuals hail from other parts of the galaxy, the universe, etc., where they may have enjoyed that kind of thinking. But here on the third dimension, I have yet to go to a grocery store and not have to pay. and to pay, you have to work.
Yeah.
You have to work. The government wants your money. And we're going to get it.
Yeah.
Only 88%. You know, they just joking.
They leave you just enough to get by on, don't they?
Yes. Well, you've had a phenomenon. Your website is well done. Littleowl.org, in which you have a personal history. Let's see, you've conducted workshops, lectures in America, Aruba, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand,
Canada.
Jersey and the Channel Islands, Ireland, UK.
Yeah.
Wow, a world traveler.
Yes, I am still travelling. I can still go back to Australia anytime, except that I'm waiting for this hip thing to be sorted. You know, I'm on a waiting list. I may not even be on the waiting list yet, but I can't travel until it's sorted now.
Understand.
That's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Well, can I tell you how what is important? Because this is important
Please.
for people to be following this sort of line of working. Because I meditate, I get what is known as threads, which I can follow or I can ignore. Now, one of my guys said, we want you to take yourself away, isolate yourself, and we will write a book. I laughed because I had no intention of writing a book. This is the last two. None whatsoever. I didn't know what I was going to write about, had not a clue. But as coincidence, they put everything in place. Spirit always put things in place. A special offer came through for the Maldives. Now, it's quite expensive, the Maldives, but this was a very, very cheap offer. And I thought, I'm only going to go where it's warm. So it's warm. So I went, I booked and went. Spirit know exactly what they're doing. The reason it was cheap is because it was monsoon, typhoon season. There was nobody there. Even the staff there, because they were still running it, didn't speak English, just what they needed to speak. There was nobody to talk to. I couldn't sunbathe because the weather was... I thought I was going to die a few times with the winds and the waves. All I could do was write. So I meditated. There in the book, the journeys I had through meditation are in the book, and I've had to write the story around those experiences. So all I could do was write. They got it all sorted, you see what I mean? They sent me away, and even though I haven't got a clue what's going to follow, they make it happen. They do this so often. They sent me to a little place in Brazil. Gave me an address. I know I'm going on about following the threads. You see.
No, that's fine.
Please do.
You have to follow the threads. I got an address given. It's a long story. I'll cut it short. I ended up going to this little airport in north of Brazil, in Bahia. All I got was an address. Didn't know whether it was close by or long distance. This was a chance occurrence. I step out to the carousel for the luggage, and a man comes up to me and he says, "Are you Shirley?" You know, I mean, how about sorting that one out? And I said, "How did you know?" And he spoke English. "How did you know?" He said, "The chief of police in Brasilia, that I'd spent a few days with, said, meet the lady in white."
Huh.
And this lovely man drove me 80 kilometers to this little fazenda, this little farm, in the way out of nowhere. I'd never found it. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
But I trusted, and that led to working in a pyramid, channeling, all sorts of magical things happened. But I could have ignored it. Do you see? Follow the threads and take courage, and it will take you amazing. I've done this all the time. Now, if they said to me now, "We want you to go to," think of a country. I've been to Alaska. I've been to most places, actually. Timbuktu. Oh, I would go. If I got that from spirit, I would go. I would look into the wherewithal, how I got there, and I would go. But I will only do that from my guides.
I was going to say Siberia. I'd have to second guess that one.
Well, all right. I have turned them down 4 times on the Arctic. But they're totting this one up again. And some of my psychic friends have said that they're determined you're going to go to the Arctic.
Huh.
I said, I've been to the Antarctic. I don't want to go to the Arctic. I don't like the cold.
Yeah.
And Spirit said to me only last week, they showed me all the flags of all the nations lined up like they have in Brussels. And they said, "You haven't been to the Arctic yet." I said, "No, I don't like the cold." They said, "Well, you've been to the Antarctic." I said to say, "Well, that doesn't count." So I haven't made any plans. But do you see what I'm saying?
Sure, sure.
I have control. I can say no.
Since you have a connection with some of the off-worlders,
Yes.
there's several theories. One of the theories is that the Arctic and the Antarctic are portals or
Yeah.
openings for some of
Yes.
those off-worlders.
They are, and I have written about that in my book, Chosen Planet, in the second book, because I've written 2 so far. Yes, they are. They're entry points.
Yeah, and so consequently, as they have been saying, go to the Arctic, are they really
Well,
saying, come and see us in the portal?
Thank you for that. Do you know that thought had not occurred to me? All I thought of was freezing cold and in the summer mosquitoes the size of helicopters.
Oh, yeah.
But that thought hadn't occurred to me. Thank you, Patrick, for that.
Oh, you're more than welcome. But on the same token, you have something that many individuals don't understand, have not experienced, wish they could experience, and that is a relationship with off-worlders.
Yes, and it's lovely. And there is so much love. An experience I had just proved to me that there is much ever magic. I just meditated. I was working flat out, in an office job. And I had to go somewhere. I thought I'd do a quick meditation before I go. And I had what I can only describe as an ecstatic, out of this world love experience. It overwhelmed me. I couldn't stand up afterwards. It filled me. It was like being engulfed with the divine, being loved by the divine and everything. And I didn't want it to end, ever.
I understand.
It was wonderful. I mean, I would love to have that again, but I think it's a one-off. But for the following week, people were saying, "What's happened to you? You're glowing." My boss said, "Who's got a new boyfriend then?" I have. He said, "Nobody looks like that without having a new boyfriend." I was glowing. It lasted a whole week, and everything was wonderful.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic. That is fantastic.
You can't doubt after that. You cannot. There is no doubt anywhere. Well, what is really rather lovely, I've met so many wonderful people as a result of this. And I love everybody, and I genuinely love everybody. Don't always like them, but I do love them.
Yeah.
I
And
understand.
I help myself, from loving. It's not something I have to try to do. I just can't help it. Which is, I don't know, it's just one of the pluses of doing what I do.
Don't you find, Shirley, that the attitudes that we have, the beliefs that we have, the feelings that we have attract like individuals? I'm quite sure that there are individuals that have had encounters with off-worlders who are of a different attitude, and
Yeah.
so there are those that have experienced evil. I use that word.
And it does exist.
Yes.
They're what I call, in the book, I call them the white hats and the black hats. And there was a war going on between the two of them, and that's what I'm writing about. And who wins depends on how we
That's
here
right.
on Earth conduct ourselves.
So what are they fighting over?
They're fighting over the planet Earth.
Okay.
They want planet Earth. It's a duel. They want that. They want domain over our planet. And if we go so down in our own negativity and vile deeds, they've got entry.
I understand.
Because they can't enter if there's so much good here. Because dark cannot enter light. It can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the vibration of the planet up.
Yeah, there are a number of different authors that have expressed in various different forms the war, the galactic war that appears to be over this planet as well as our area.
Yeah.
Why is that? What does Earth have that so many people wish
To be here. Think about it. This planet has so many diverse creatures, conditions, geographical climates. It's so varied. We haven't even discovered it all yet. And a lot of planets are not that way. They're boring, some of them, frankly. They don't have the tilt that this planet has that gives us this variation in so many things. It's a jewel. It is really a jewel. Other planets that I don't know of are, quite honestly, you'd be bored. I lived in Singapore for 2 years, and when the climate is always hot and steamy or whatever, you start to long for English rain. You start to long for fires. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
You have too much of one thing. Variation. We've got variation. And we are off-worlders' children. So we're very important to them. The human race is very important. And the fight between good and evil will always happen. Anywhere, not just for planet Earth, but anywhere, it will always be. I mean, it's what gives us the challenges, which helps us to grow our own souls by overcoming the challenges.
Now,
Our souls grow.
is this something that's happening that we are not aware of, or are these things influencing current events?
They are influencing current events. They have a hold on what I call the shadow government. There's a character in my book called Gork. Yeah, you've got to create some characters for a book,
Sure.
for a book that's sci-fi.
Sure.
And he is an extraterrestrial of the black kind. He's horrifying. Nobody wants to be anywhere near him. But he is in the shadow government. Now, he's a made-up creature for the book, but there are off-worlders who are not looking for our interests. But then you have the others as well, you see, so it's a bit of a battle.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm writing about.
And we can sort of choose who we want to associate ourselves with. And that's the beauty of your guides, the off-worlders that you hang around with.
Yeah.
It's those that are a loving nature.
Always. I've never had a bad one. Never once have I met anything that I was afraid of. Not once. Not at any time. They've always been wonderful and loving and helpful and come out with those lovely words. The channeling, I've got a whole pack of what I call little owl cards. You may have seen them on the website. I've reprinted them 3 times now. The words have all come from Spirit, all of them, on these cards. And I'm sold out. And people keep saying, when can I get them? When can I get them? And I'm not reprinting them because of the cost. Do you see?
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm 82. Reprinting them is one thing, then marketing is another.
Right. Takes a lot of effort.
I don't have time to market all the things that I've got unless I'm giving lectures.
Sure.
You see,
Sure.
I've got to be giving lectures to be able to market. One thing leads to the other.
So we've talked about a little bit, the poles and stuff. What do you think about the moon? I've heard theories that the moon is not a planet,
It's
but it's a
artificial.
space. It's artificial.
There's a big mothership on the other side of the moon. I'm sure there's more than one, but I only know about one that I've actually been on. And it is acting, the one I know about, is acting as a neutral country. So you've got the goodies and the baddies. And you've got spaceships coming and going. It's like an entry point and, a birthing point. They can come and go as they wish. But they're sectioned off. Like the baddies aren't allowed in certain areas and vice versa. Do you see what I mean? It's like a country. It's huge. It's massive. A lot goes on the mothership. So it's neither positive nor negative. It's both.
You think it's like an umpire or a referee?
Well, you've got the spiritual galactic, the guidance from the spiritual side, which overrides everything else, actually. But then they can only do so much. They're not allowed to do too much. We have to follow our own journeys.
Right.
You'll just have to read my book because I've written about them. And there's one there I call the Golden One because I didn't know what his name was. And he's attended by the angelic realm. It's of that level. And he visits the mothership. And it's definitely apart from the others. And the others can visit too, but they don't merge. It gets a bit complicated, doesn't it? But I'm trying to fathom that out. I'm getting all this from Spirit, you see.
Sure. And I think it's important. Each period of time, we are susceptible to one or two major guides or mentors.
Yes.
And that's the time to allow that creativity to come out and to write about it.
Now, I think creativity in itself, getting into that place where you're creating and writing and, I'm talking about the people that write books and movies and music. They have caught pieces of this, and these pieces have shown themselves in different movies.
Yeah.
I've seen, talked to enough people like you that have said things that I recognize these things in certain movies. And it's like, these people just by accident put this story or this character or this idea, like the prime directive at Star Trek is
Trying to get it over in a way that, as I said, the man in the street will actually latch onto.
right.
It's important to get the message out. but not just to spiritual people, because they're already there.
Right.
Sure.
It's teaching those who already know. It's passing it over to those who don't know, who it would be helpful for them to know. Do you see? So
Yes.
that's where I'm leading now.
So besides, I guess what you're talking about might be larger truths. You do get some, prophecies, if you might say.
Yeah. Well, I've got the prophecies. There's one here which I'm going to have to read it. I was on Aruba. I was giving readings and stuff, but I was in a caravan.
When was this?
I've got it here, 2000, January 24th, 2000.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's 16 years ago now. Oh my gosh. I was trying to get ants out of my clothes. So I was not meditating. I was not thinking spiritual. I was cursing the ants, if you understand me. So they write. They give me words to write. That's how the little owl cards came. They said, write. I've always got paper handy, so I'm going to look down to read this. Shifting sands, smooth movement of land, vast land. Nothing is recognizable. Nothing is left of former times. Move on. The new is fresh. The new is welcoming you. Forget the past. Forget the now. Look ahead. It is almost here. Can't you see it coming? Do not be caught unawares. Do not waste time. Get your mind settled in peace and readiness. The change is for you all. You will do this with no company alongside except me. I am Ra, the greatest of all. Come with me. Be with me on my beam of life, and you will know all. Now, where did that come from? Out of the blue. Do you see what I mean? That's so unusual. And what an important message. But I felt the power behind it. I almost stood up and shouted when I read it out. Because Ra's the sun god, of course. It doesn't mean he's an individual, you understand. But that's a warning, isn't it? The new, not a warning because of danger, but a warning of change.
And not to be too excited about it because you'll see it through, right?
Oh, yes. We will always see it through. You can't destroy the soul. I mean, civilizations have been annihilated before. We always come back for more. The human race won't die out. There's too many of them in space to start with. We can always reincarnate. I've been on the other side talking to new souls, or souls waiting to be born. That's quite an experience.
Oh, I bet it would be.
It was, because they were young souls, not evolved souls. And they looked down on the planet and they didn't like what they saw. They didn't want to go.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, are you ready for this?
Yeah, they didn't want to go. And there's one little one, he said, well, I'm not going, so there. You know? So there was this discussion going on with them. And there was another group of evolved souls, mature evolved souls. And they said they were going to go and prepare the way for these young souls. You see, I mean, that's all written down in my book as well. Because it's important to know, there is a constant stream of incarnations coming and going. That's if you believe in reincarnation, of course, as well. I do know people who don't believe in that, but, well, that's up to them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, in addition to being a lecturer, a author, leading in groups, do you also have individuals that can call for consultation through Skype and things of that nature? Do you do one-on-one consultations?
I like to do face-to-face, which is why I like to travel, because I read hands, I read the palms, and I get so much information from the hands. And I really don't want to be sitting on the computer doing Skype all the time.
Understand.
I've got other things to do.
Understand.
And many other mediums, psychics who can do that, they don't need me for it, basically.
Yeah, you were just saying the other day we would like to have a palm reader type.
A palm reader.
Well, you'll have to invite me over, and I'll come and do some workshops and stuff.
Oh, that'd be great.
We'll wait till it warms up a little bit. It's going to get cold.
I will always go where I'm invited to do the work. Always.
Okay.
You know, it's not a big deal to me. And I've got a lot of friends in America, so I didn't. Someone in Boise, I know somebody in Boise, and all over.
So have you been to Ohio?
I have never been to Ohio.
Have
See?
you ever heard of Mothman?
No.
Oh, okay.
There was a movie, The Mothman Prophecies. And
Mothman! Sorry, it was your accent. Oh, yeah, I've heard of the Mothman prophecies. Mothman, yes.
yeah, and the bridge falling, that's here.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yes.
That's right, like 10 miles away from here, the bridge that fell, the Silver Bridge. That's a thing here.
It's a bit scary, isn't it?
Oh, falling bridges are. I don't know about the Mothman, you know, depends on your perspective.
Well, there's worse. I mean, I've delved into time travel, which I do, but I don't do it in the method that the military, your military, do. Thank God. But you may have heard of the Montauk chair.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Well, you know, I've written about that and various things of that nature. So, yeah, there's scary things out there. I wouldn't want to get involved with your military at all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the military, and I've seen things happen that's like, I don't want to be on the other end of that.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it won't be just your military. It'll be militaries in other countries as well.
Right.
I feel for the souls of the people who conduct themselves in those ways, because they've got a hell of a way to go
Sure.
to reach it, haven't they? So I almost feel, I know it sounds crazy, I feel sorry for them. I have been on the other side and rescued souls in hell who have actually been in hell and brought them out of hell. But I wouldn't go into those areas, you know.
Yeah.
Where it's really,
Isn't it true, Shirley, that in order to really understand love, we have to also understand hate?
I think so, yeah.
And
yeah.
to get the peace, we also have to understand what it's like to struggle.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I've been to the point where I wanted to commit suicide. I wouldn't because I had kids, but I was at that low level.
Sure.
You know, I think a lot of us have been there.
Yeah. And our world, it seems that we have the polar, but you know, we have to enjoy the highs in order to enjoy the lows. And one of the things that, in my estimation, our world is about experiencing those feelings that we have, whether they're good or bad. Because in essence, it all comes down to all of us are going to return to the source.
Absolutely. We all come from source. And some of us learn quickly and others don't.
Sure.
I give readings, and if I do come over, I'll do yours, both of you. Soul readings, where I go into trance, I find out where you come from, where you originated from, which of course, apart from the source, you know, and some of your past lives. And by the time you've heard a few past lives, relating to the thread that you're living now, you understand what you're here to do.
Sure.
Been doing these for years now. Yeah. But that has to be a face-to-face. You know? You can't do that.
I understand, because some of us read energy differently.
Yes.
And sometimes when we're in the atmosphere of the other individual, that energy can connect.
Absolutely, yes. And I'm not, as I said before, not a natural. So I can't do what a lot of psychics can do, like do it through Skype or long distance or anything like that. I have to be the presence of that.
Understand. And oftentimes we have viewers and listeners on our programs that you will resonate with, and they will want to get in contact with you, and they'll want to discuss more about the gifts that you do have.
Oh yeah, there are no accidents. People will always be brought to you who need to be with you. I love everybody that comes to me. I don't have any bad people coming to my house. It's wonderful.
I think that's great. As a matter of fact, you share a camaraderie with a number of different other individuals in England that
Yes.
live nearby you. Let's see, there's Pam Gregory,
Yes.
Ildiko Skur,
Oh yes, she's a friend of mine. Yes.
Magenta Pixie,
Yeah, Amber. Oh, there are so many.
Dee,
Yes.
yes. And you're sort of,
Yes.
is Carolyn Cousins part of the group too?
Well, I know Carolyn Cousins, but not as closely as I do the others. Jessica Woods, she's another. You'd love Jessica.
And you have something that I think many of us wish we had, and that was a group of individuals that have different parts of the pie. That
Exactly.
I think instead of having her here, we ought to go to England and sit in the
I
middle
think
of all
so,
these
too.
people.
Oh my gosh, I think that would be
Me
great.
too.
You know, because you have something there in that small group, and I can imagine the energy. I don't think we would be able to sleep.
Yeah.
And you all will get tired of us asking questions, etc.
Never, never. Do you know, and this again I think is directed to you, Mike, because I think you'll be channeling, is when you channel, who you have with you is vitally important. It's vitally important that you have somebody who asks intelligent questions. I was very fortunate and I had a medium who used to sit with me. And if he didn't ask the questions, there'd be nothing forthcoming. You have to have somebody who's asking questions, not about personal stuff. It has to be more global. If it is a personal thing, they move it round to why does a parent not get on with one child? Rather than making it is my child, etc.
Right.
All the predictions have come about through this particular man who's now passed on. As I said, they all pass on when they get to a certain age. Asking the questions. Well, what about America? What have you got to say about America? And what about China? And because he's asking the questions, they will always answer. But if you don't ask the question, you won't get the answer.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right. I've heard that quite a bit. You can't get an answer to something that's not asked.
It's very important.
Right.
And don't ever have anybody that is negative. You see, in the Bible, Jesus, when he raised Lazarus, he had Lazarus brought out of the house. He couldn't raise him because he said, there are unbelievers in the house. Bring him outside. It's the same thing. Don't have people who are going to disrupt or disbelieve anything you say, because it won't work. They'll bring the energy down. A negative person will bring the energy of the group down.
Sure.
So you must have people who are going to lend their energy, which you need to fetch a higher force through. Ask for the highest force you can go to, always. Because, there's a lot of mediums can do Aunt Maud and Uncle Joe and, the man down the street who passed over. That's lower, it's fourth dimension stuff.
Yeah.
If you connect with the highest, you have to go higher than that. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with getting Aunt Maud and Uncle Joe, and it serves a purpose. But if you're channeling, you want something higher than that. Like the Great White Brother, like Jesus, or your Quinn Lee, you said, Patrick?
That's a name that popped into my head, and I'm not sure if.
I was wondering if it was Kuan Yin.
How do you Spell that.
Kuan Yin, Q-U-I-N, Q-U-A-N, and L-I-N, I think.
Okay.
Somebody's
All
going to correct me on this, but it doesn't matter. She's one of the White Brotherhood.
right. Okay.
Kuan Yin, Sananda, Maitreya, the whole list, of them.
Sure.
But she's one of them. And you know when Kuan Yin comes in, because she's very strong, very loving. Do you feel that love when she comes?
It was we can talk more about this at another time, but in essence, that name was very resounding. Each one of us have to trust our higher self, and oftentimes, when I first got involved with the meditation and things of that nature, I did not trust what I was picking up. It's just my imagination.
Yeah.
No, your imagination is the best thing you can have.
Sure.
Never doubt your imagination. It's imaging.
You're right.
It's coming from your soul.
That's right.
That's what I get when I do a QHHT session with somebody. It's like, was I just making that up? Was that really real?
Making it up is when you deliberately set out to create something.
Right.
It happens without you deliberately setting out to do it. That's not making it up. That's your imaging that soul's giving you. They use images to give you pictures, don't they? I mean, that's how they give me pictures. They give me images. Like the Russian thing. I'm going back to the Russian prediction. They showed me, because I get this when I'm channeling or when I'm meditating. Excuse me. They gave me the Russian bear. You can't mistake the Russian bear. I was afraid this was going to happen. And they had the little people throwing sticks and stones at the bear. And they said the great bear will be brought down by the little people, but it will rise again when the sun rises in the east. The great bear will be fed and nurtured, and it goes on. I've got it's all in the books, the prediction, and that's exactly what happens. Do you see? But I got a picture followed by the words.
See, I get those pictures too, and I've learned. One time I got a picture of 3 hooded beings. Now this was 20 years ago. It's not the Ku Klux Klan or anything of that nature. It was like monks. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what an imagination. And until I talked with somebody that had some insight. And then one time I turned around, I was getting ready to leave, and this big insectoid hit me. And I'm going, holy cow, you scared me. And I got the image back saying, scared you, you're the ugly one. But in essence, the trust comes down. I think it's good to question. I think it's good to question, because we can't just nilly-willy.
Well, and a lot of times when I do a session, the person will go out and do research and find out their visions or the information is in history and confirmed it, because they didn't know it before, but is confirmed, by some record later, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it is important to test. Go by your initial feeling, though, because if you really truly trust that your soul is okay, that nothing can hurt you, even if you die, nothing can hurt you, then whatever is presented to you can't hurt you. It literally can't. But that's where the trust starts. You have to believe that. That nothing can actually hurt you because your soul is intact. The only thing that can hurt you is yourself.
Sure. Tend to agree.
I kind of have that trust when I ride motorcycles.
But you have to be common sense. It's not like saying I'm going to jump in a bus and climb.
Oh, sure.
It's not, I mean, common sense has to rule, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this grounding thing, you've got to be grounded.
Well, see, you bring up a very good point about death. Inherently, most individuals, it has been built in there, that fear of death. And the reason being is, I think if we no longer have that fear, when things get tough, it's very easy. We could say, well, heck with
I'm
this.
out of here.
I just kind of know my, guides or the people that, the spirits that watch over me got my back, and I don't worry.
No,
They take care of me.
They will test you, though. Are you there? Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
They will test you. I mean, I go around saying nothing can hurt me. So I ended up in India in the middle of the night in this plantation. I hadn't got a clue where to go. And I wasn't afraid. I was cross with the person who had allowed this to happen, my host. So I sent a message to Spirit. I said, send someone to find me. And at that moment, a boy came running up. He said, Missy, bungalow this way. Do you see what I mean?
Sure.
My feeling was of irritation, not fear. So trust, it depends how you deal with what is presented to you.
See,
Fear is not good.
Right. If the time to leave this world, if all of a sudden, however it was, the door opened, etc., I don't believe I would have any trouble walking through that.
No.
My eyes would be wide awake, going, yes, because
I get excited and say, right, what's next?
and the only thing I promised Mike is that I would do my very best to play with him, move his stuff around.
I got enough problems remembering where I put my stuff.
That's my lot.
But I've enjoyed listening to individuals like yourself and other individuals. What's really on the other side, and it is exciting to think that what we feel on the other side reflects that feeling, and it's very important that we keep that love in our heart and our positive attitude, because on the other side it's there. And so if we are
there all the time, yes. And think about it, we've lived so many lives, we must have died loads of times, and we keep coming back.
Sure.
It can't be that bad, can it?
Right. That's right.
Now, you said something, I think just a little bit, just a couple minutes ago about fear.
Yeah.
Now, that's one thing I've been trying to, put good things out there and help people with, with the election. There's a certain segment of the population that are just scared for their lives or something.
Yeah.
And so I've been saying, fear nothing good comes of fear. What's your take on fear?
Well, my take on fear is, if you're fearing something that might happen, like future, we're not talking about preservation, like if a lion was come to leap at me, I'd be frightened and, do the necessary. But fear of something that hasn't yet happened, like what might happen with Trump, is going to bring all those things that you fear towards you, because you're adding energy to it. You're making it more likely. So what we do with things which, are rightfully feared, what the heck is he going to do, or anybody is going to do, in the wrong positions? As groups, or you can do it separately, but it's more powerful as a group, to create the opposite of what you think, and create an image, because once you create an image, and this is where you have to sort of create it deliberately, the image that you'd be preferable, and put energy into that. Once you've created an image, it is already a reality. It exists because you've created it. So you're making that a possibility. And we do this with starving children, or misused dogs, or whatever is not wanted. We don't even focus on the negative picture of starving kids with their ribs hanging out and things. We create a picture of those kids with their bellies full, with loving people around them, being fed, being happy, laughing. And it is effective, but we create that energy in those positive pictures. By focusing on the fear, you're creating that energy too, and you're making that bigger.
Tend to agree.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right.
And we've had proof that this works. You know, food being taken to people where they were starving. We've actually seen, even the following day, this happening. Trucks getting through, unloading supplies. But it's necessary to do it in the first place. When I give healing, because I do a lot of healing, I first of all, I see the person that needs healing. And then I ask Spirit for the healing for a start. But then I see a picture of them running around, laughing, happy, fit and well, and being in good shape. That's the picture I'm creating for that individual.
And the more of us that do that,
Yeah.
that's an important part.
It is, yeah. So you can do that with fearful situations, like with your Trump. I mean, what is it that you fear he's going to do, you see? So to reverse that and see the opposite.
Right.
As I say, I don't know in your politics what you fear about what he's going to do.
Yeah, that's something I asked on the internet. It's like, what are you afraid of? Are there trucks coming to put you in it and take you to a camp, or what do you think's going to happen exactly? You know?
I think actually he's more intelligent than he's making out. I think there's a lot more to him than there's actually that he's brandishing around.
Yeah.
What worries me is his grandson.
His
And
what?
I only got that this morning. You know the young lad that's always showing up in his lectures and things now? Do you know the one I mean? The young boy?
His son?
Is that his son?
Yeah.
When they got the news that he won, there was a little boy standing off here.
Like that one.
That's his son.
Oh, that's his son.
Yeah.
I worry about him because I think, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, he's going to be a tyrant. That was my feeling when I looked at him. I thought, that one's going to grow up and be a tyrant.
Huh.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah,
It could be the environment that he's seeing.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's taking it all in.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about, there's a difference between predictions and prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
Predictions take the situation at hand and say, here's what's going to happen.
This is that timeline, and this is where
That's
this
right.
timeline goes.
But down the road, if we listen to some of those predictions, we have the ability to change.
Yeah,
It's not all written down. We do have choice.
Yes, that is true.
Absolutely it. Yeah, you couldn't be more right. The predictions are given, so we take notice and do something about it.
Right. As a fun kind of thing, usually when we come into November, December, I start reading the predictions of 2 years ago.
What's going to happen? And you're looking backwards, looking forward.
And it's amazing. The world was supposed to end 4 years ago, or the world was supposed to,
2012. That time.
Yeah, and I think in 2013 the world was going to come to an end according to certain groups of individuals.
Yeah.
And predictions are good indicators of, if we continue on this path, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you said it very well in here, that we are responsible for our lives and the directions we want to go.
There are some things we can't change.
Yeah, and those are prophecies. Sure.
I was in a little island called Waiheke off Auckland in New Zealand. I was there doing readings and stuff. And I was just looking out over the balcony, over the sea. There's other little islands around there. And suddenly I saw the bottom of the ocean, bare, absolutely bare, no water. I was astounded because it was very visual, but right there in front of my eyes. And I thought, what on earth's going to happen? And because New Zealand is going through a heck of a time at the moment, it's just the beginning if what I saw happens. Because there's either a tsunami or there's going to be a split down the middle of New Zealand where new land will come up. I don't know, but that was, what do I do with that? You see, it wasn't a prediction. It wasn't a prophecy. It was just something I saw. So I don't know.
And it could very well be.
It could be.
Sure. And I guess the bottom line comes back to trust that our higher self, trust the spirit forces, our guides, have our best interest, trust the fact that we as individuals, it's up to us to live our best life that we possibly can. And
it always comes down.
Yeah. And what happens, happens.
Yeah. There are things we don't have control over.
That's right.
You're
absolutely right.
But as long as we hold on to the idea that our soul is going to carry on,
that's right.
Irrespective,
yes.
That's all we need to worry about.
That's right. And every day, every minute that we live, we have a choice that we can either be a good person, we live up to our ideals.
Positive and negative.
Yeah.
Wake up and say this is going to be a good day, or it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
And you bring what you put out.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you say that throughout your website, and you say that through your books and your lectures, and I think you're just a phenomenal person.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. I just feel very, very ordinary, and I really do feel that. Sometimes I worry a little bit because people's expectations of me are more than I think I can live up to. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, I saw something written last night about intelligent people or extraordinary people. They doubt themselves.
All the time.
And people that aren't are very sure of themselves.
There's quite a few.
When you're ignorant, you're very sure of everything.
But also we have to look at what you have done too, and recognize the fact that you did not sit on your laurels and say this and say that. You did some things, and I think you have left a good mark for many people to come to your website and buy your books and look at all the different things.
And I'll put the link to all that stuff in the description.
Yeah. And you
Find your publisher, Patrick. Find the publisher.
I didn't think you need too much of a publisher nowadays, especially if you made like a electronic version.
I don't want to self-publish, you see, that's the problem. I could publish these next week, self-publishing. But I'm too old now to be doing the self-publishing.
I tend to agree. But iBooks are also important.
Yes.
And putting them on the internet too.
Yeah. I really think so. There's one thing, we've already read that, some of that. I just want to read one thing. There's one about industrialization taken too far, and the one about mass movement peoples. Trying to find it.
Shirley, we're having just a little bit of trouble hearing you. Could you just say it a little bit louder?
Oh, all right. I've got a notice here. Don't shout, because I tend to shout if I'm not shouting.
Okay, it's fine. I think just the internet speed slowed down there for a second.
Oh, has it? Oh, okay. Now, I'm going to put this in because I had it May the 7th, 1993. And they were this is what I was channeling. They said, you must record this. And then they started to tell me, the Arabs, the Muslims in the Arab states will involve themselves in the war at present in the Yugoslav areas. Remember, this was 93, before the problems we're having now. They will involve all countries where there are Muslims in numbers sufficient to unite. It will become a matter of pride and furthering belief in one's system. Politically motivated, but driven by the feeling raised up in the peoples. Turkey will be involved, as will surrounding nations, and the funding will come from the Muslim states, in particular the Arabs. This is for the record. That was so unusual, and because of what's going on now with ISIS and so on, I felt that was worth pointing out.
Yeah, in the migrant situation.
Yeah, and your books do go into some of those earlier predictions, and your books do talk about things that are occurring today.
Yeah, exactly, and they were all done in the early 90s, you see.
Yeah.
None of the stuff's going on now was about. Nobody was thinking about that.
Well,
Yeah, if it was the early 90s, we didn't even have the internet at that point.
You've got another guide over you, Mike, a different one. Just turned, because I've been looking up there, not down here, you see, so I haven't seen him before.
Yeah.
An authoritarian, upright, strong character. More get this done type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very masculine, very masculine. Not the angelic lot. This is a different one.
Huh.
Yours are spreading, Patrick.
mine are
Sorry.
what, please?
Yours are spreading as well. Your guides are spreading themselves.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't see before because I was looking up at the camera rather than down at you.
Oh,
But,
oh that's very interesting. Now,
sorry to interpret.
the new book that you have coming out is Chosen Planet, a battle
Yes.
between galactic superpowers, and the prize is planet Earth. I'm
That's-
looking forward to that book.
Yeah, and there's be a book 2, Chosen Planet 2, and which is about time travel, and
That's
That's-
fantastic.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always been fascinated with time travel. If there's a movie that has that situation in of time travel, I'm watching it.
and the third one I haven't written yet because I'm waiting for this publisher. Because I think there are a lot of problems with my hip sitting at the computer writing
All right.
for hours. I don't think it's done them any good at all. That's what we do.
Shirley, we want to have you come back on a future show. Want to leave the listening audience with some words of wisdom?
Oh. Be kind. I think if you can be kind and not do anything that you would later dislike yourself for, it's a good tenet to hold by. And then you will naturally like people. Do you know what happens? If I smile at somebody, they smile back. You get back what you give out.
Right.
I even get people driving in cars who don't know me, coming towards me, and they're smiling at me. I don't know who they are, but they must be smiling at something, you see, which is lovely.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the big things. Don't get dragged down by the drama, because it will only bring you down. It won't help anybody. So just be the best you can be as nice as you can be, and genuinely love people. Don't say, oh, I'll send love. No good unless you feel it. No good sending it if you don't feel it. You have to feel it. And it's the unlovable who need your love the most. Really? And find me a publisher.
Okay.
Shirley, it is a pleasure talking with you, and I want to thank you for your time and coming.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much. And thank everyone watching, and stay tuned for our next one. We've got another one I'm going to upload this week also.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
I shall look forward to that. Thank you very much, both of you. You're both beautiful souls.
Well, we appreciate you coming on our program. I'm Patrick.
I'm Mike, and thanks for watching.
Bye.